What's up, everyone? I recently got to be a part of a Roundtable interview with Dee Bradley Baker asking questions about Young Jedi Adventures Season 2. This is my second time talking with Dee, and he is so much fun to talk to. So here are all the questions from myself, Full of Sith, Jedi News, Resistance Broadcast, Talking Bay 94, and Triad of the Force. Enjoy.
Hello, Dee. This is
Hey again, Brian.
Brian with Full of Sith, and I'm joined by my son Kingston, who is a huge Young Jedi Adventures nerd.
Hey, Kingston.
Um, and the first thing we wanted to ask you is just it seems like there's probably some difficulty there in playing a character who's speaking not English, but communicating that way. It reminded me a little bit of Chaplin's sort of song and dance in modern times,
Yeah.
and wondering if you could talk about that.
Yeah, there's a lot about animation because it's very visual and it needs to be clear. It needs to be very relatable. And that to me tracks back to vaudeville. It tracks back to like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Harold Lloyd. I was just starting to watch some of his stuff this past weekend. But it's that clarity of storytelling that is, it's very human, it's very smart, and it's good theater because it connects and because it's clear. And that's very much what you've got at play in a series like Young Jedi, where the storytelling, because of the format, is necessarily it's time constrained, right? Just like the old silent movies were, is you had like 10 or 20 minutes maybe, and that was all you had to tell your story. They got longer and longer eventually, but it started out as a very economic way of telling a story, which that kind of continued its way on into the Warner Brothers Looney Tunes stuff, and then into what you have now, which are these little gems of stories that are they're very quick, but it's the full story with the full range of emotion that plays out. And so the important thing is as always, is you've got to have good writing, and it's got to be clean and clear what the story is, with a beginning and a middle and an end. That is something that well, you can track it back to Aristotle if you want, but that's something that you very much had back in the days of vaudeville and silent pictures, and it's still that kind of tradition of storytelling, of clarity and economy is still very much in play.
Hi Dee,
James,
good to see
hello.
you again.
Hello again.
Hi, we've been talking for 15 years now, and your vast array of voices never ceases to amaze me. And what I'm wondering, how do you bank them? Do you have an encyclopedic memory that each voice, each character's got its own tone and way about it? Because we've seen you before that you can just turn any character on almost instantly. So how do you compartmentalize that, if that makes sense?
Well, sometimes I can't remember what I did, and I need to have the engineer play it back. But in a lot of the times, creating a character is like setting up a campsite on a river that may be remote. But when you set up that campsite, it faces a certain way. You know where the woods are. You know where the water is. The road is up this way. Over here is a good source of kindling, and you just kind of have this familiarity with how that lives, so that if you come back in a year or two, it's like, oh, I remember this space, and it all just kind of jumps back because it was this place that you lived, right? And it has all these kind of practical realities that suggest from the site itself. And so I look at a character like that it's like a campsite that I have set up that is familiar to me once I can start to see it. That there's ways that this character behaves, the way that the placing of the sound, the pace of it, all of that is kind of contained in the original creation of the character. That still, it's like it sits on a shelf or something in my mind. And in the case, like, I mean, the extreme case would be the Bad Batch, where I'm playing very different characters, but they're all in the same story, in the same kind of shell, if you will. And it became that they were all so very familiar to me that I could just jump from one to the other, and we just read straight through the scene, so that they're different people. And so it it seems odd, but that's how it feels to me. It's just because these characters are so different and specific in this kind of universe that each of them inhabits, that it's easy to kind of jump back in many cases, just jump right back into what that character is.
Hi, this is Alex from Star Wars Explained.
Hey, Alex.
Hi. So the characters of the Young Jedi Adventures in Season 2, they're growing up, they've got their mission robes, younglings are looking up to them. We also see evidence of an older Pooba Jedi named Barabo. So I'm wondering if you've thought at all about what Nubs will sound like as he gets older. Basically, what does a Pooba sound like after they've gone through puberty?
Now you are setting it up just to tee up that wordplay there. And I see what you did, and my Star Wars helmet is off to you. Well, I can't speak too specifically about it, but I would say that if you're interested in what a grown-up Pooba sounds like, then stay tuned. Hey,
I'm
Brandon.
Brandon with Talking Bay 94. There's such a vast array of Star Wars sounds and alien languages going all the way back to 77 with Ben Burt. You're such a huge part of that legacy now, and Nubs and the Poobian language fit right into that legacy. Are there any classic Star Wars characters or sounds or aliens that you're itching to portray that you haven't had a chance to just yet?
You know what? I mean, as you say that, I think it was one of the things that just struck me between the eyes. It just knocked me out of my seat when I was a kid watching Episode 4. Was when you're in the cantina, which of course, you know, all these aliens and stuff. I just went completely nuts for that. But when Han Solo sits down with Greedo, and Greedo starts talking with subtitles, I was just like, there's subtitles because he's speaking another language. And so that blew my mind. So I think it would be really fun to be another character like that requires. There's something magical about subtitles to me that I don't know why, but I just love it. And ultimately, the way that we do creature sounds now, like with Nubs, for instance, is that you could do it with subtitles if you wanted, but with the specificity of the performance that I'm bringing, hopefully, in addition to what my fellow scene mates are saying around me, you know pretty much exactly what Nubs is saying. And that's always the goal with any kind of creature or non-speaking word performance, is that there's a clarity to what is being said so that the audience understands it. So they're not disoriented, and you're not stopping the story in its tracks with just a bunch of weird sounds. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of my Star Wars enthusiasm very much tracks back to alien utterances by Greedo himself.
Awesome. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lacey
Hey.
from the Resistance broadcast. So I have a 3-year-old Daisy who's obsessed with Nubs. She loves Nubs, thinks it's
Oh.
the funniest thing ever. So one of the big things about being a mom of a young kid is you get to kind of experience kid shows again, all over again from what you loved when you were little.
Yeah.
So my question is, did you have any cartoons that you were drawn to when you were younger that then maybe influenced Nubs or what you do now?
Well, the kind of stuff that I loved watching, it was numerous. I really like the old Looney Tunes cartoons, which is it's got a real economy to the storytelling, as I was talking about. I really I liked Scooby Doo a lot because there's kind of it was like there was a mystery to it. There was always something and I always wanted to, like, there's ghosts and UFOs and things like that. So that had my attention. Johnny Quest, really, that and Land of the Lost, those were like my childhood sci-fis that really captivated me, as well as the old school Star Trek as well. And so that very much carved out a space for this young aspiring actor, because I liked acting a lot. I never wanted to be an actor because I didn't think you could earn a living as an actor. It was always just something fun to do. But there are these versions of acting and performing where it's like, well, you can do acting, but there's like slee stacks and monsters and aliens. It's like, I don't
All the
think
fun
anything.
stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I don't see any way to get to that. I don't think I could earn a living doing that, but man, if I could, if I could live in the fantasy world of HR Puffin stuff, maybe sing some songs, have a bunch of weird creatures to talk to, that sounds like heaven to me. And I think I'm in heaven now. I think I have found my heaven with, 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 with Young Jedi and Star Wars and all of this. It's absolutely just the child in me is screaming for joy with telling these tales and being a part of them. It's such gratifying fun.
Well, it's so fun to watch. Thank you so much.
Oh, good.
Hi, Dee. Gustavo
Hey.
from Triad of the Force. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. And thank you for Young Jedi Adventures. Like, I was watching it and I was thinking, like, it would have been great to have, like, this type of Star Wars show when I was growing up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I guess my question stems from the types of Star Wars shows that we have been used to. And as we all here know, like, you're no stranger to Star Wars Galaxy, having played characters in Clone Wars and Rebels, and obviously the Bad Batch. And they've all been tinged with some sort of darkness and maturity in the storytelling based on like what the stories are in those shows. And obviously Young Jedi Adventures is a little more lighthearted and for a different type of audience. So I guess my question is like, how has your approach for this type of Star Wars story and this show been different from your previous Star Wars experiences and how you prepared for the characters?
Well, to begin with, it feels like Star Wars to me, like it did. I mean, I saw it when I was 13, and I mean, everybody in the world saw that movie again and again. But you could say that was a story originally that started out angled towards a younger audience and towards a younger mindset. In any case, so Star Wars very quickly became something that was much more sophisticated and varied, even starting with Empire Strikes Back, which was part of what was interesting and really artistically impressive, I think, about the way that George Lucas took that series. So, yes, Star Wars has certainly become much more varied, much more sophisticated. It's built out this whole grand story since the prequels on into what you have playing out now. But for me, going back to do something that's for a younger audience, as we do with Young Jedi, and this is, for the first time, really specifically angled to preschool. So it's lighter in tone, it's sweeter, it's less peril, less the drama of it is dialed back, but it still feels very much like Star Wars to me. It still feels fun, and it still feels relatable and connected and innovative, and it's got lots of great specificity to this wonderful world. This is big adventure to it. It feels of the same universe to me, even though the tone it shifted a little bit, as it does for all the different properties that you have out, whether you're talking about the Acolyte or Andor or Boba Fett or whatever. I mean, each one kind of takes a different angle, but they all sort of fit together for me as part of Star Wars.